Chris, I appreciate you joining me to talk about this. First, I want to start by talking about Liz Cheney. I'm sure it comes as no surprise to you that she lost her leadership role. But, talk about, you used to, as the head of the Republican Party in our state, you know what it's like to be in a leadership role. One of the arguments I've heard for ousting her is she wasn't taking the position that a majority of members are. So in that sense, were they right to pick a different leader?
Well, if you apply the standard that narrowly, yes. When you choose to be in leadership, you need to really be in step with the majority of your party. But so if we were talking about taxes or healthcare policy and she was wildly out of step, then it would make sense. But my God, Brandi, we're talking here about an attack on our Constitution, an attempted coup to overthrow the government. And to not stand up for that is just wrong. And so the fact that she is out of step with her caucus, they probably, by that logic, should not have her in leadership. But they're the ones who are wrong because they're on the wrong side of history.
What would you have done? You were running for Senate when Donald Trump was running for president, but had you been in your position as the chair of the state Republican Party, not running for anything else as a candidate, would you have kept that position given the fact that you did not like or agree with the standard bearer of the party?
Brandi, I have thought about that many, many times, and you're the first person that's asked me that. That would have been very, very difficult because it's a full-time job. It was my paycheck. I had mouths to feed and a mortgage to pay, but there's still, honor and doing what's right. What I've come to the conclusion is I would have gone to the state committee and I would have said, look, I'm your chairman, but I cannot support the nominee for president. If you want me to resign, I will. If you want me to continue, I will, but I'm going to continue to speak my mind. And then I would have abided by their decision because ultimately the chairman of the state party or the chairman of the Republican National Committee reports to the committee. And I would have put it in their hands, but I would not have changed my position on Donald Trump because your soul is something you really not worth trading a job for.
So if she continued to stand out for what she thought was morally right, do you believe it would have been a better path for Liz Cheney to go to the party and just leave of her own accord of that leadership post?
Yes. I think that these members of Congress, and there are still a small number of Republicans who are sane and have a conscience and know what's right and wrong, they should leave the party. I mean, it makes no sense morally or intellectually to belong to a political party that you know is wrong, that you don't agree with. It's very hard, though, but that's what politicians have done for decades. I mean, Winston Churchill left his party twice and pretty much ended his political career, people thought. I mean, you have to do the right thing. And so good for Liz Cheney and Jamie Herrera Butler and others for standing up and voting the right way, but they shouldn't remain members of that party.
So whenever I have you on, Chris, there are pro-Trump Republicans who lose it because, they do not agree with you at all on the former president. And so now you have, obviously, the rub. And why we're having you on today to discuss sort of the path forward is you have these just diverging subsets of the party. So talk to me about the call for American renewal. What is this?
So it is important to put this in context. By early 2020, a big, thriving community had been formed across the country of former Republicans or current Republicans who were never Trump. That's still the best label for it, never Trump. And the never Trump community came together and organizations were formed, like the Lincoln Project, right? Republican Voters Against Trump, the Stand Up Republic, and others that we held conferences and raised millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to oppose the reelection of Donald Trump and to help Joe Biden win. For the year 2020, the Never Trump community was focused on beating Trump. In February of this year, we began discussions about what do we do next. And there was a summit meeting held by Zoom, because everything's now online, where there were a couple hundred of us and talking about what do we want to do? And the group was almost evenly split between people who believe we need to create a new political party, which is my position, and others who said, no, we need to create a faction that can seek to change the Republican Party, that we can win Republican primaries. We can reelect Liz Cheney and Jamie Herrera Butler. We can go in and defeat Marjorie Taylor Greene in a primary. So after several more weeks of discussion, we basically decided to straddle this issue and create what we call a movement, which is going to be designed, and this is a multi-step rollout, to create a political organization to help win campaigns. And the first step in that, we believed, was we needed to tell the world we existed and what we believed in. So we released a set of principles called A Call for American Renewal. Over 150 prominent current and former Republicans, many former members of Congress, ambassadors, cabinet secretaries, state party and national party chairmen, all signed on to this. We're asking others to sign on. The next step is going to be a national town hall meeting in June. And again, we are moving forward to create something new in American politics that can help win elections. And I'm going to be talking, and I am talking, to other people in Washington State about possibly creating a Washington State chapter of this movement.
Is this, when you talk about helping to win campaigns, we have a reckoning coming in the 2022 midterms. You're seeing Dan Newhouse, who voted to impeach the president. He has a challenger now, a pro-Trump challenger in Lauren Culp, which I have to imagine he's very nervous about. So when you talk about this movement on your end, is it something that you're going to back candidates in 2022? And would you help someone like a Dan Newhouse?
No official decisions have been made. In fact, the structure to make those decisions hasn't really been put together. But based upon what we're talking about, yes, we would try and help reelect people like Dan Newhouse and probably Jamie Herrera Butler, who have stood up and voted the right way, especially in a district like Dan Newhouse's, which the Democrats could not possibly win. So the alternative is either a Trump Republican or Dan Newhouse. In other places, we will support Biden Democrats. Moderate Democrats are being challenged by Trumpists. And probably in other places, we'll support people who are running under a brand new party label or running as independents because they don't believe they can survive a closed Republican primary. The objective is to save our democracy. I mean, if Donald Trump and the Trump Republicans win the 2022 and 2024 elections, they might be the last free elections ever held in this country. So we will support anybody who can help deny power to these authoritarians who don't respect the Constitution and the rule of law.
You know, but what is it going to tell you if, you know, your candidates or candidates you support don't win? You know, we are going to have these matchups across the country in the midterms where folks who were not loyal to President Trump are going to be challenged by people who are. What if the pro-Trump people make some sweeps across the country?
Then that will be the judgment of the people, and we will live with the consequences, won't we? I mean, that's how our system works. If you win the election, you get to govern. But between now and then, we need to go out and make our case, and we need to fight to make sure that does not happen. But you know, right now, there is no doubt that the overwhelming majority of Republicans support Donald Trump, his policies, what he's doing. They believe the big lie. They're with him. I don't expect that to change. Others do. Others still think that we can fight and change the party. I don't. That's why I believe we need to create something new outside the party, and particularly here in Washington State, where Republicans have no chance of achieving governing majorities in this state. A new party could help diminish the power of the Democrats and try and prevent us from becoming a one-party, far-left state.
You know, but at the same time, Chris, you and I have talked many times, going back to after your Senate bid, about your desire or your belief that there needs to probably be a third party or this sort of move toward a third party. When does it come time to just do it and stop talking about it, stop sort of mulling the idea and just pull the trigger?
We are pulling the trigger. That's the thing, Brandi. This movement is going to result in a new party if not in name, then at least in form and substance. And in fact, if you listen to what Evan McMullin and Miles Taylor, the leaders of this, have been saying, is in some parts of the country, such as California and Washington State, we are creating a new party. But we're doing it. We are moving forward. I mean, yeah, I've been talking about this for a long time. This is the most progress I've ever seen on this. And the rollout of the principles was only phase one, step one. Just stay tuned for what's going to happen the rest of the year.
I asked you the last time we spoke about this whether you were willing to tell me if there were any currently elected individuals from Congress who were part of this effort. You didn't want to out them at the time. Are there any currently elected members of Congress who would be willing to leave?
No, not that I know of. None of them signed on to the statement of principles, but a large number of former members, including those who recently left Congress, did. But we are in contact with those people, Liz Cheney, Jamie Hura Butler, and others. They know what we're doing. They're watching. We right now are living in a state of tremendous change and fluidity. We don't know what's going to happen moving forward. It's a long way now until the 2022 elections. Have to see, it would greatly help our effort if Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, and others would stand up and say, I'm leaving the Republican Party and joining this new thing. That has not happened yet. But, you know, the ground keeps shifting and we'll just see what happens.
And that's kind of what I was going to ask you, is you said it would greatly help the cause. But would it be necessary for the success of that cause to have major current political figures join?
I will say that in order for us to succeed, we can't just support existing candidates. You know, we can't just help reelect a few Republicans and a few Democrats. For this cause to succeed, we have to have our own candidates, and they need to be high quality candidates. That doesn't mean they have to be current incumbents. It could be people who have run before and are now coming back to run under a new label. We need high quality, credible candidates in order for this to succeed, and we're working on doing that.
Chris, for people who want to join this movement, who like the things that you're saying, what would you say to them?
Go to a callforamericanrenewal.com, all one word, a callforamericanrenewal.com, and sign up. And you'll start getting updates and be kept involved. We're building lists. If there is enough interest, I'm going to call together a group of people to create a Washington State chapter. We're building it, Brandi. We'll see if they will come or not.